Alright guys, welcome back to Algos Made Simple. If you understand about a linked list at all, if you have a basic core understanding, you don't have to be an expert here, but if you have a base level understanding of how a linked list operates and what its properties are, then once you see this simple solution, you're going to feel extremely confident if somebody asks you to reverse a linked list, which the odds are, if you're doing a whole lot of interviews, you're going to run into this. It's often asked in phone screenings and in different interview formats. So with that being said, let's dive right in here to it and show you how to knock this one out. It's Leetcode 206 reverse linked list. It states, given the head of a singly linked list, reverse the list and return the reversed list. So I'd let the interviewer know, it's a brief description, but I'm still going to reword it to confirm that I understand what's going on and get myself talking. I understand I'm getting the head of a singly linked list, and I'm going to utilize its properties and its capabilities to basically rewrite the connections and return it in reverse. So going down here to the example, conceptually very easy to wrap your head around. This 1 is linked to a 2, the 2 is linked to the 3 is linked to the 4, and the 4 is linked to the 5. And so in this initial thing, you're returning this 1 as the head, and of course it's linked to this, so on and so forth. What you want to do is have the 5 linked to the 4 linked to the 3, and the 3 linked to the 2, and the 2 linked to the 1, and you're going to return this 5 as your head, and that'll be that. That'll have all the links and the connections. So with your game plan here on this one, let's write it right here, you're basically overwriting the connections and changing the head. So that's all there is to it in your game plan. Overriding these connections. Again, instead of having the 4 linked to the 5, we want to have a 4 that's linked to a 3. And we want to have, this 1, instead of it being linked to the 2 and being the head of it, we want to have this 1 linked to nothing. And at the same point in time, again, we want to return the 5. We want the 5 to be the head of our list and be linked to everything else. So that's all it is, overriding connections and changing the head. So how do you do something like that? All right, well, we said we're going to have to overwrite connections. That's our biggest point right here. So let's say we start off with a variable called current and had it set equal to the head, because that's our current head. And then let's say we had previous, which is basically showcasing you what it's linked to. So right now, that 1 coming in as the head, there's nothing previous behind it. All right. So what we would do from there is we need to have a loop to go through every node. So while these nodes have a value, we want to go through them. So simply you could do a while loop and just say while cur, because we're going to rewrite the cur. When we're rewriting these things, the biggest thing we want to rewrite is the connection. So we're going to have that cur.next property. And that cur.next, if you did it right now, the cur.next is 2. We want that cur.next to be nothing. We want to have nothing after this 1. So the cur.next in this scenario, we would rewrite as the previous. And we would want to have the current change to the next node. So what we're going to need is a next variable that's set to that current next. Because we're going to want to use that here, have the current be set to the next. And we want our previous, so our new connection, or we want our previous to be set to the current. Alright, so once you see this coded up, it'll make a little bit more sense to you. It's really not bad at all, but that's the whole game plan right here. It's just, the main thing is I want to overwrite these connections and then just change the head that I'm starting with. So getting into that, let's get it down here so we can have it all on one page. We'll call it reverse linked list. Of course, takes the head and the class property, all that kind of stuff. We're going to say, again, with our game plan, cur equals head, previous equals none. And again, the reason we're doing that is our head, that's the only thing we're getting passed through is this head, so we just have a starting place, and right now our starting place is that 1. And then the previous, there's nothing previous behind it at this time. So that makes it really simple there. So again, we said we need something to fuel it. So we're going to say while cur, and that's where we're going to come in here and start operating on these nodes and get it in the shape that we need it to be. So we're going to have an nxt variable to just save what the current.next is before we alter it. Because again, the main thing in this problem is you're overwriting the connection. So you're overwriting the cur.next. So you want what this current node is, you want its cur.next to be what it is in the reversed list. So with that being said, we'll go down here and go ahead and rewrite it. That cur.next is going to be equal to the previous. So this 1 goes from having this 2 as the cur.next to all of a sudden this 1 has no cur.next. It's just none. So we're on our way to a reverse list there. We're going to say the previous, so for the next connection that's going to happen, the previous is going to be equal to the current. So when this next current 1 comes around, when this 2 comes around or whatever, the previous is going to be that 1. So when we set the connection, the 2 is going to be linked to the 1. So we go here, and again, our current is going to make use of that nxt variable. So our current is the next, so we're just going to the next thing in the node list. Once we get through all of that, to kick things off, we want to be at the head that we'll be at, which is the head is going to be what our tail was. So we're going to return previous. Alright, so that's the simple code of it. It's O of n. This is the optimal solution. It's iterative, and what we're going to do here is I'm going to show you how this works so you really can understand it conceptually, because it might be a little confusing with the code, but once you see this conceptually, it's very easy. So we're starting here with 1 at the head, right? So we come here, and we got cur equals the head, which is 1, but it also has all of its properties. So it has the .next property, all that. Previous is simply set to none. So we're at here while cur, and cur does have something, it's not null. We're going here and saying nxt equals cur.next. So cur.next is 2 in all of its properties, the next property and the value property. The cur.next equals previous, so now our cur.next for 1 is getting overwritten as none. So basically you could say you had a 1 here, and its link is now to none. So that's, we haven't spit out anything of our new list yet, but that's what our list will look like when it gets spit out. That 1 has no connection. So then we come here, let me put that in parentheses so you don't get confused, not part of the code. Previous equals current. So previous was equal to none, now it's equal to our current, which is 1, and its new properties, which 1's current.next is none. So then we're going here, and our current equals next, which our next was 2. Alright, so then we go up here, and our current's 2, so while cur, there's still something there. Our current.next, our nxt variable, is going to be 3. Our new current.next, we're overwriting that 2's connection. That 2 was connected to 3, now it's going to be connected to the previous, which is 1. So going down here, this 2 is now connected to 1. It links back to 1. Alright, and then our previous equals current. So we're saving that 2 to be our next connection when we get to the next node. And our current, of course, equals the 3. So we come up here, we have 3. nxt equals cur.next. Our current cur.next is 4. So again, that's just saving the value to get the next one. We want to overwrite that cur.next. So instead of that 3 being linked to the 4, we now want that 3 linked to the 2 and all of its properties. So here's our list forming a little bit more. We have previous equals current. So of course our current's 3. So that's saving that 3 to be part of our next connection. Cur equals next 4. So we get up here while cur 4 is still something. It's still got properties. nxt of current, it's going to be 5. The cur.next, we're rewriting it. So 4 was linked to 5. Now 4 is going to be linked to 3. So we can come here to our list and look at that. The 4 is linked to 3. And we got previous equals current. So 4 is going to be utilized for our next connection. Current is, of course, 5. So we come up here, while current, 5 is still something. nxt equals cur.next, which is going to be none, nothing there, null. Cur.next, so we're rewriting the 5 right here. We're rewriting it. So again, as you can see, the 5 was originally linked to nothing. Now we're going to have this 5, and it's going to be linked to 4. So come here to our list, and it looks a little something like that. previous equals current. So if we had something else, the 5 would be used for that next connection. And then we've got cur equals next, which is none. And then simply we're going to return previous, which is going to start with that head of 5, and it's all going to be linked. So hopefully that makes some sense. I apologize for the phone call right there, but hopefully that makes some sense. Very, very, very easy when you look at it conceptually like this. You're returning your new head, this 5, and it's got its new overwritten connections. So your connections, again, were these. So you did have 1 connecting to 2, 2 connecting to 3, 3 connecting to 4, 4 connecting to 5, and 5 being the end of it connecting to none. But what we did was we overwrote these connections right here. With this cur.next, we overwrote it, but we saved it up here so we could utilize it for the next current number or whatever. And then we're just, again, overriding connections, returning the new head. So thanks for watching this one, guys. Hopefully that clears this one up a lot, and it's something that you feel really confident in now. I know for me, once I went through the problem like this and actually popped these numbers in, it made it make a lot more sense. And there's ways to do this one recursively, of course. But if you have something that you think is simpler and easier to remember for an interview, or a different way to look at it, or different terminology, different verbiage, just let us know in the comments. I would love to utilize it potentially, and I'm sure others would as well. So again, thanks for watching, guys, and we'll be back with the next one shortly.